In verse 7, the words of today's text, we recommend ourselves as God's ministers by truthful speech. Well, we worship Jehovah, the God of truth, and we take delight in that. And as our Watchtower comment makes the point, we're truthful in things big and small. We love the truth. We know, and we're not surprised, that we will be the target of negative reports. At times, we may even be cast in the role of deceivers. And Jehovah has frankly told us that there are some who are willing to exchange the truth of God for the lie. But that will never be true of you or me. Instead, we hold to Jehovah, the God of truth.
Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is having a good week. The February broadcast, oh my goodness, there is so much cringeworthy propaganda in there that, it's like, where do you begin? I'm not going to cover the whole, 1+ hours, because I'm going to save you guys some of these videos. You can go watch it if you want on jw.org, but my goodness. Now, you've seen the opening clip, and this is a talk that a helper to the governing body, Seth Hyatt, is doing. And it is like propaganda at its foremost, because it's talking about, listening to false stories and lies, and they're the victims. They're being cast in the role as deceivers. And they use Bible examples of, Jehovah. He was cast in the role as a deceiver by Satan. And like I said, there's so much cringe-worthy stuff in here. And they give an example of Pioneer Sister, and he mentions that a friend of the Bible student comes in unannounced, without knocking or anything, and has a book in her hand and says, "You need to read this book." And the way he's describing it, it was someone that used to be associated with Jehovah's Witnesses and a book. I'm thinking he's talking about Raymond Franz's book, Crisis of Conscience.
Have you ever been confronted by a bad report, a false report about Jehovah's people? It may be a newspaper article, or a segment on the evening news, or perhaps some subject is brought up in the ministry. It could be a broad range of subjects. Our neutral stand, our stand on blood, our adherence to Jehovah's elevated moral standards and appreciation for the sanctity of marriage, or our insistence on keeping the congregation clean by disfellowshipping unrepentant wrongdoers. But whatever the subject, there are some commonalities. Such reports are often characterized by distortions, inaccuracies, and sometimes outright falsehood. And inevitably, they're presented with certainty and surety as though they were fact. Now, when you're confronted with such a report, how do you feel? Disheartened? Discouraged? Angry? Consider the experience of a pioneer sister who was conducting a Bible study. And in the course of conducting the study, a woman walked into the house unannounced. She didn't ring the doorbell, didn't knock. And as it turned out, an acquaintance of the student, she walked right in, interrupted the Bible study, and in her hand was a book written by a man who at one time had associated with Jehovah's people. The woman said to the student, "You need to read this book." Well, an interesting conversation ensued, And our sister found herself in the position of being cast in the role of a deceiver.
And the poor pioneer sister, she was cast in the role as a deceiver. Well, I've seen some things on social media lately, and it's like, in the example they give, the pioneer sister, she just kept quiet since she was a guest in the home between the, student and her friend. And the student ended up saying, well, do you know who this man is? I know this woman and she's really sweet and nice. So, this is how they twist the truth. They always have to put the apostates, the ones that leave, in the role as demonized. They're the deceivers and all of this, when we all know that they're the ones that are actually lying. And I have a good example of this, because I am going to show some clips. But a couple of things that I seen on social media, and I went back to grab the screenshots, and unfortunately I could not find them on Twitter and JehovahWitness.com, and I even did a search for the things, but it was screenshots. And Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't think they're purposely trying to deceive the world. I honestly think that most of them believe these clowns, and that's why, bless their hearts, they think they're telling the truth and they think they're being honest, and they believe this stuff. Like the clip said, we believe in truth, we live the truth, and all of this is like, oy vey. But the thing is they honestly believe this, and all of us are like, oh my God, you have no idea. One of them, now I'm not going to debunk them, because everybody on social media pretty much was doing this. So, I don't have to say anything. But one of them was, Jehovah's Witnesses have never, ever had a case of CSA in their organization. Oh my God. And, I would almost feel sorry for the Jehovah's Witnesses. But I got to thinking, imagine now if that JW woman, and I don't remember her name, but imagine how shocked she's going to be after fighting with ex-members on Twitter for days that there's never been a CSA case. Imagine how shocked she is going to be when it happens either in her family, in her congregation, her friends, or something. Eventually they do find out that yes, Watchtower does have a systemic CSA problem. Now, one of the posts from a JW that I am going to address, because I know a lot of you new ones who are newly out may not know this. We've covered this many times years ago, but it's always worth, covering things again so that everybody can see, wait a minute, apostates are actually telling the truth. They're not deceivers. They're not lying. And I'm going to put the link down below to this website. Now, I know the Jehovah's Witnesses are like, oh, well, this is just false information and lies, okay? This is from the United Nations, UN.org, okay? Click on the link, you will see this. This is from their Department of Public Information, okay? There's a letter here. Watchtower Bible Tract Society Association with DPI. Because this post is like, Jehovah's Witnesses Watchtower would never be part of the United Nations or be an NGO member part of the United Nations. They would not have anything to do with the wild beast. You are a lying apostate. I'm sorry, sweetie, but you've been deceived. and you're listening to these clowns who are telling you that these are all lies and stuff. Why would the UN put this letter up if it was a lie? Okay? If this was a lie, Watchtower could sue them for defamation, slander, libel, all of the above. They could sue them. But they can't because they know it's true. And even now, they are still NGO members in Europe. And I don't care if they are or not. I don't care. But the point I'm trying to make is they're hypocrites. Because we were told not to be part of this world when we were JWs. Oh, you wouldn't want anything to do with Satan's world and the wild beast. Oh, you wouldn't want to go to the United Nations trying to get your human rights because it's the wild beast. But yet, that's exactly what they do. Okay? I'll read this letter. United Nations, DPI, NGO. NGO means non-governmental organizations, and that's what Watchtower is. They are not a government organization, so they're the NGO, non-governmental organization. To whom it may concern, and this is dated March 4th, 2004. To whom it may concern, recently the NGO section had been receiving numerous inquiries regarding the association of the Watchtower Bible Tract Society of New York with the Department of Public Information. This organization applied for association with DPI in 1991 and was granted association in 1992. By accepting association with DPI, the organization agreed to meet criteria for association, including support and respect of the principles of the Charter of the United Nations and commitment and means to conduct effective information programs with its constituents and to a broader audience about UN activities. And if you look in the Awake, they had very favorable articles. They quit the bashing of the UN in their Awake magazine because they had to support it. And that was part of the agreement. And they signed this application. In October 2001, the main representative of the Watchtower Bible Tract Society of New York to the United Nations, Ciro Alacino, I've heard his talks, requested termination of its association with DPI. Following this request, the DPI made a decision to disassociate the Watchtower Bible Tract Society of New York as of October 9, 2001. Well, you mean they were disfellowshipped? Please be informed that it is the policy of the Department of Public Information of the United Nations to keep correspondence between the United Nations and NGOs applying for association with DPI confidential. See, they just admitted that Watchtower was an NGO. Like I said, they still are in Europe because they attend all of these meetings, and you can still find them in their OSCE meetings. They're always going to these meetings and stuff and crying about their persecution and being banned in several countries. Okay, going on. However, please see below the paragraph including in all letters sent to NGOs approved for association in 1992. The principal purpose of association of non-governmental organizations with the United Nations Department of Public Information is the redissemination of information in order to increase public understanding of the principles, activities, and achievements of the United Nations and its agencies. So Watchtower was supporting what they have been deeming for decades as Satan's organization. And how many times have they called the United Nations and the League of Nations the wild beasts out of the abyss? I wonder if the United Nations knows that, their DPI department. It is important that you should keep us informed about your organization's information program as it relates to United Nations, including sending us issues of your relevant publications. We are closing a brochure on the United Nations and non-governmental organizations, which will give you some information regarding the NGO relationship. And it goes on. There's couple more paragraphs that you can read. So for Jehovah's Witnesses to blatantly on social media call us lying apostates trying to deceive all the poor Jehovah's Witnesses and destroy their faith. No, I don't care. If you want to stay with Jehovah's Witness, I don't care. Stay in it. If it makes you happy, stay in it. But I am a firm believer that you do need to know the truth. And when they demonize all of us who are saying, no, you're being deceived, this is what they have said in the past, this is what they've done in the past. And then, like I said, for these Jehovah's Witnesses to say there has never been a case of CSA in the organization. Oh, good Lord. Now, the main part of the broadcast, the helper to the governing body, he's given a talk, and he's talking about how we can have a better spiritual life, humility and all of this. But I want to play a clip from it.
The final quality highlighted in 1 Peter 3:8 is humility. Why do we need humility? Because we need to trust. Trust in Jehovah and his organization requires humility, not relying on our own strength or wisdom. So, as the Great Tribulation approaches, humbly trust in Jehovah and his organization.
Now, I'm not going to play the long clip where he was talking about empathy. It's like, oh my God, Watchtower has no empathy. Jehovah's Witnesses do not have empathy towards their ex-members. But as you notice in that clip, he was talking, do you trust the organization? And that was a thing, that was kind of the theme through this whole talk. Do you trust those men in charge? Do you trust the faithful slave? Their track record is horrible. How can we possibly trust this organization? But see, they have to put the doubt in the mind of Jehovah's Witnesses that all of us who have left and are now speaking out, accusing the governing body and Watchtower of being deceivers, they have to switch the narrative and put it on us. Now, this is another thing that is in the broadcast that many are talking about on social media. It is the new music video. And towards the end of the broadcast, they are talking about trying to help all those that have left come back to Jehovah. Come home, back to Jehovah's organization. And they have a music video. And I just want to show a short clip. I'm going to save you the music video. You can go watch it if you want. But I want to show you just a short clip here.
He found you, lifted you up in his arms. He carried you safely away from harm. He brought you back to his fold. You'll never be alone when you're home.
As you can see, they say they were reactivated after like 8 years or 10 years or whatever. And they're so happy they've come home. They've come back to Jehovah. And it made me think, what would the organization have to do to get like someone like myself back? Well, the thing is so much damage has been done to all of us and violating our human rights and destroying our families. How can they possibly fix that? And in the music video, oh, you hear Jehovah's voice. He's calling you back home. Well, I haven't heard that voice. All I have heard and feel is how happy I am to be free. Because think about it. What if they told my mom? What if they told your family members, oh, it's okay now. We want to try to get those that have left back. So you can talk to them. You know, we're not going to shun them anymore. No more just fellowshipping. Would that fix the problem? Think about it. I don't need an answer, but just think about that. What would it take for you to go back? Do you think my mom and I could pick up our relationship and it be the same that it was back in 2012? I don't think it would ever be the same. Because there would always be that elephant in the room, wouldn't it? I would always want to ask her, as a mom, how could you not talk to your own child and grandchild for 12 years? See, that's what I mean. The damage has been done. And in fact, I know of one of my son-in-law's family members. Her family was talking to her. Her dad is an elder. And they have been trying so hard to get her to come back to the truth. It got so bad that she just had to write a disassociation letter, and now they're totally shunning her. And which is sad because she is disabled now and in a wheelchair, and her husband's still working, and he can't take care of her, so she's home alone. So, yeah. So, you know, this propaganda that they put out is just so disturbing, and I know it triggers a lot of us. And that's why I just can't sit and listen to these day after day after day and nitpick them minute by minute. And I know most of you understand that. You know, I do try to bring clips that I think would be interesting and, you know, news of what's going on social media, because I know a lot of you don't keep, you know, track of what's going on social media. So anyway, before I go, I want to mention Goat-like Personality. Thank you very much, Jonas. They are having a protest in Amsterdam in April. And that's all I know about it. And so if you want to find out about it, if you're going to be in that area, in Europe, contact Goat-like Personality, Jonas. And so thank you so much for watching, and you all have a wonderful day. Bye.